Dear boy, you are ugly.
I support that message.
Thank you. That's my opener. I finally had something from the movie this week, and I thought as soon as I saw it, I paused the movie and I was like, I'm writing that down. It's very good. It's in Italian. I don't care. I'm saying the English version.
I heard that and I immediately started thinking about the movie, which immediately made me depressed. So
I thought that was a fun moment. I wasn't expecting it.
well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say something about the movie, but I guess we should keep that for later.
You can't.
I can't.
Yeah. I'm not allowing you to save anything for the movie. I'm going to just play the theme song right now. To the Uncultured Pop Culture Podcast. My name is Brandon, and joined with me, as always,
is David. I did want to say my nickname right now on our call is Doovy, and I don't remember changing it to that. So
I do remember you changing it to that, and I saw it, and I was going to change mine to that as well. But then I thought I won't know how to edit either if they're both named the same thing. So I kept mine. I kept mine as the co-host on Cultured Pop Culture.
You could be Doovy number 2.
That sounds problematic.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, we've got a great episode for you. We are traveling back in time to the golden age, the 1940s. For the second time on this podcast, we have a black and white movie, which is quite exciting. And then we're also traveling back into the golden age of music, which was the year 2019, which may have been the best year of music ever. I don't know. Some are saying that, and the some are me.
People are just talking about how 2019 might have just been like the golden age of our existence. So
yeah, we were still living in a post-racial society, to bring that back from the Get Out episode. You know, we still had some of that Obama era optimism as we're going into the next election after a terrible Trump presidency. And we were like, wow, guys, we're actually going to change things this time.
Yep.
And then we didn't.
And then of course we were also like, hey, we can go into the businesses. We can work easily.
Exactly. Yeah.
We have futures.
Our futures were bright. Yeah. And now they're squandered.
Exactly. Which is why we're podcasting.
Exactly. That's why any young man turns to podcasting. But on that note, what have you been watching or listening to this past week?
So, okay, let me just throw this out there. I've been listening or kind of re-listening to a lot of the Troye Sivan songs that we talked about quite a long time ago. That was over half a year ago at this point, wasn't it?
Episode number 2.
That's right, episode number 2. Go listen to it if you haven't. You better. But yeah, I mean, it's just really good. He's honestly one of my favorite artists right now. I think I realized that when I was listening to his music. But there are actually 2 things that I wanted to talk about that I watched this week, because there were 2 movies coming up that were potential players into my top 10 of the year. And I am very happy to report that they both made it into my top 10.
Nice.
I do want to say, though, before people are like, oh, those movies or anything like that, like, I did not get blown away by either fully. And my top 10 list is very weak because so far, at least out of what I've seen, it has been a very weak year. So it's not like these would necessarily be in my top 10 for a very strong year. That being said, I could see them maybe being on the bottom of the list, you know, if the rest of the year is stronger or something like that. But the first one I saw was The Smashing Machine.
Oh, yes, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Exactly, going finally into serious acting. And I got to say, he was actually good. I liked him in the movie. I do think that Emily Blunt is like the stand-up performance, but he also did a very good job. Like, I never got taken out of it by him. At the end, there was like a little bit moment where I was like, oh, wait a second. I got a little disoriented because near the end he shaves his head. So that definitely like tripped me up a little bit, but then I got back into it very easily. And I like the film. It is maybe, in some ways, it is a little bit like, you know, a typical wrestling story. That being said, I feel like it kind of strays away from that because it honestly like focuses more on the relationship between Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt's characters, which I feel like kind of make it in the end quite different from a lot of like typical wrestling movies, and I really like that. It's a 4. Like I really liked it. I would watch again, but it definitely didn't like fully captivate me. It's not something that I'm gonna remember. Like it's not gonna stick in my head or anything. But I liked it.
From what I've heard, it's not doing too well at the box office. Do you think that's going to impact its like Oscars run?
I think a little bit, yeah. The thing is, it's seemingly this year is kind of weak for quite a few of the acting categories at the Oscars. So I could see Dwayne still getting in. I don't know about Emily Blunt because I honestly have not really like looked at that race for supporting actress. So I like off the top of my head, I can't imagine who else would be in there right now. So I can't say, but I could see him still getting in. I think he definitely has a lower chance of getting in than some other people, like, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another. I think Paul Mescal might get in for Hamnet, even though he might go for the Best Supporting Actor category instead, even though I've heard that would kind of be category fraud. But I don't know. I think he has a chance. I ultimately think that this film's box office is not as important as, the box office for one of his blockbusters. So I don't think it's going to have that big of an effect. But we'll see. We'll see when the Oscars are announced in January and when we cover it on this channel, guys. And then the second film is a movie that I've actually been looking forward to like all year. That is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Now, this is my first Del Toro film, but I was hyped because I was like, I knew of his like, I've heard about how good his films are. And on top of that, I adore the Frankenstein book. And I heard that this is, it's closer to the book. It definitely changes stuff, but it is closer to the book. And that's kind of what made me hope that it was going to be my favorite of the year. I will say it's not, but it is higher up in my top 10. And I did really like the film. It's a 4 stars too. I did have my problems with it. I felt like there were parts that could have been cut out of the script, and that would have let other parts breathe a little bit better. And in general, I think the script was kind of the weakest part. That being said, Jacob Elordi is amazing in this film as the beast or the monster. And ultimately, like at the end of the day, whatever problems I did have, it still worked very well, and it was still true to the novel in terms of it portrayed the actual story where the monster is less of a monster than Frankenstein, and going after the whole like, oh, you're brought up, you are who you are because of your environment, not because of who you are like when you're born.
Nature versus nurture.
Exactly. I was trying to find those words, but I couldn't. The fact that it like actually went the route of humanizing the monster and like telling it as a nature versus nurture story, that's what ultimately made me still really like it. And yeah, it's good. I like it. I would recommend if you are into Del Toro's work or if you like Frankenstein. They did change stuff, but I don't know. Ultimately, I don't think you could adapt the novel one for one because it would be too long as a film. I mean, this movie was 2 hours, 20 minutes. So any longer, it would have been too long probably. But yeah, go watch it. If anything, go watch it for Jacob Elordi's performance because he's amazing in that film and he should be like nominated, even though I don't think he will be. That being said, what have you listened to this week?
I have listened to quite a bit. Nothing really of note. We're kind of back into that. We've kind of slowed down for the year of like big name album releases. I'm still expecting at least 2 more on the schedule. I'm hoping for a third one that was recently announced, but there's no date on it yet, so we'll see. But I did listen to an EP called After EP 2 by After. This is their second EP of the year, so it's well named. They are a band duo, another one of those duos from Los Angeles. And this music is very interesting because it brings back memories of the late 90s, early 2000s kind of coffee shop music. It's influenced by like trip hop and alternative rock, and it's very unique, despite ironically not being that unique because it's just like a retread of where we've been, but no one's been doing this. And the production style of music now is so much better than it was 25, 30 years ago. If you like this kind of anything that I just described, I would highly recommend this. And it's very short. It's only like 5 or 6 songs. It gets in and it gets out. And there's some really nice like pop hooks on here. Very, very impressed with it. And then my song of the week is Sugar by All Time Low featuring JoJo. This is a rock song. I have not talked about a lot of rock music on here because it's a harder genre for me. And, rock is dead, all that. But rock is even a stretch. It's more power pop. It's like it's got a big chorus. It's got pop structure, but it's got guitars in it and it's produced like a rock song. And it's very fun. And it's one of those songs where you kind of like the lyrics aren't amazing, like what you're going to get, but then melodically, it just kind of like breaks all your expectations for being like such a simple song. And I think it's very well done. And yeah, I would recommend that. So shout out All Time Low. They have an album that just came out that I haven't listened to yet, but I promise I will listen to it by the next podcast. That's what I got for this week. But I did want to, before we dive in, say something because there is a massive global event that we never covered. And this was Taylor Swift's The Life of a Showgirl that somehow neither one of us brought up and is at least over 3 weeks old at this point. Maybe we're getting into like a month territory.
I mean, you do have like 2 haters, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if you were a hater.
Oh no, I'm a full-blown hater.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like hating on art, but I don't know. This isn't like super artistic. I will say that.
For me, I don't like hate too much on her music. Like I personally think it's very boring and uninteresting, and very cookie cutter. I hate more on like her taking her jet, like
yeah,
for what could be like a 30-minute drive and stuff like that. That's what I hate. That's why I'm a hater more than the music itself, which I do still like dislike and find very boring and uninteresting. But I mean, yeah, I agree. I'm like, just because I don't like it doesn't mean I'm gonna like hate on other people for listening to it. It's more the artist that I don't really like.
I mean, I will hate a little bit on the Swiftie saying this is her best album ever. This is not.
Well,
and
yeah.
we can all admit that collectively as a society. We can say that she's fallen off. Like, that's okay. Artists do fall off a lot of the time. And it's like, you should just retire. But at the same time, like, you can't because this is what you love doing. And I know if I get to that place, I would want somebody to tell me, hey, you fell off. And then I would say, cool, I'm not going to listen to you. And I'm going to keep making music and ruining my legacy. Because, there's that drive within you to keep making things. I mean, we see it with Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, that's very true. I wonder what his next movie is going to be.
Yeah, worse somehow. I did want to say, though, that this album came out and acknowledge it. We are uncultured pop culture. We talk about like things happening in the world, and somehow neither one of us thought to bring this up. I listened to it on release night with my sister because I begged her to listen to it with me because I was like, this is going to be really bad. And we ended up staying up and listening to it, and it was bad.
That sounds terrible.
And she was like, this isn't very good, and she wasn't even reading the lyrics. So like that's how it's like not, it's not interesting at all. But yeah, I mean, I will say this is my hot take. This is not her worst album. I think Midnight's and the Tortured Poets Department are worse. So I will say that. At least the production's bearable at some parts in this album because it's Max Martin.
I know that the Tortured Poets Department came out last year. When did the other album that you listened to come out?
Like 6 months before that in 2023, fall of 2023.
So it's literally like, her run for her most recent stuff is the worst stuff, pretty much. Yeah. That's kind of crazy.
I am not really a fan of folklore, but I understand why people are. Like, I think it's well constructed. I don't think Evermore, the like companion album to it, was that interesting, and really it just kind of feels like a deluxe edition that didn't need to exist. I'm going to say since 1989, I don't know that she's really delivered a lot of great music, in my opinion, which would have been 2015 when the deluxe edition of that came out. So, but then again, I'm not a Taylor Swift lover, so I can't really, I mean, I can speak to it from my own personal like likes and dislikes, but not like objectively, which none of this is, criticism and what people like is not objective.
No, yeah, of course.
But I do think that we kind of need to agree as a society that this is not good and not her best album. Like,
yeah,
I just need something. Come on, Swifties. Like, I will give you that 1989 is a good album. Like, please agree with me.
I did not listen to the album at all. That being said, I have heard about the song where she is pretty much straight up talking about Travis Kelce's penis. And
Yeah.
the moment I heard a few of the lyrics, and like not even as in listening to the song, I mean like people just telling me what the lyrics are, I was like, oh, I'm good. Awesome. And then I just dissociated.
Yeah. I blocked that out of my mind. It's something about like long, hard redwood.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
I'm
Cool.
good. Thank you.
There's also a Charlie XCX diss track on the album. And there is also another song that many people are thinking is racially coded because Travis Kelce's ex is black, and Taylor Swift has a hard time with people having exes, especially people that she's dating. So there may be some problems there. I'm not going to speculate. I don't really know, and I don't pay attention that much, but that's just something that I've been seeing a lot. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, a little concerning and problematic. But yeah, I mean, now we talked about it. This album is not worth your time. I think I rated it a 1 out of 5, but I also rated Midnight's and the Tortured Poets Department a 1 as well. So each.
Hey, maybe we'll do it on one of our
One of our flop episodes. On that positive note, let's talk about Clairo. This is Immunity by Clairo. And I would like to start off with a little bit of background information before we get into the album. So Clairo's real name is Claire Cottrell, and she was born in Atlanta, but mostly grew up in Carlisle, Massachusetts, outside of Boston. Shout out.
Hell yeah. Go Boston.
She got her start recording covers and making DJ mixes in high school before she started uploading her original songs to YouTube, where her song Pretty Girl went viral in 2017. Going viral on YouTube, I will say, was kind of hard to do. So that's pretty impressive. So at this time in 2017, I was in high school, and I remember everybody being like, did you hear Clairo's song? Pretty Girl, and then Flamin' Hot Cheetos was the other one that was really big. That was the one that I thought was bigger. Everyone would ask me, because I made music, can you make me a Clairo type beat? And I would say no, because I didn't really like her music back then in high school. I feel like it was it was amateur in a way I didn't like, but I'll talk about that more later.
Right. It had to grow on you, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. And the success of this song, Pretty Girl, as well as Flamin' Hot Cheetos, led her to sign with the Fader label, which is the label arm of the music magazine, The Fader, which is a pretty well-respected like indie publication. This album was released August 2nd, 2019 by Fader label. And I want to talk about her record contract because I've mentioned the Fader label multiple times. Her father has a Wikipedia page. His name is Jeff Cottrell, because he is an extremely successful marketing manager who's worked for Coca-Cola, Starbucks, Converse, and Topgolf. And he knew John Cohen, the co-founder of the Fader, and you may see where this is going.
Yeah.
So the Fader obviously helped establish her once she was signed with them, but she also had offers from other major labels, which led people online to speculate that her father helped her song go viral on YouTube.
Damn. That is quite an accusation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to speculate on this, but a lot of people say it was a marketing scheme. I don't think it necessarily was, but I do think that those connections raise eyebrows, definitely. And knowing someone, especially your father, who knows how to market things and like was in charge of Coca-Cola's record label at one time is kind of like interesting, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
She initially said when she was really young that any accusations of like nepotism, for lack of a better word, was the result of sexism, but she's kind of changed her tune on that and has kind of publicly accepted that she kind of has a leg up on everyone else because of her money. I mean, pretty much. Her parents are rich. I don't think that this takes away from the fact that she's like very talented and a good musician, but like it is important to talk about the fact that like she has unlimited resources at her disposal, which helps when you're starting out as a musician.
It helps a lot. It helps in any industry, but especially any artistic industry. And I agree, like I don't think it takes away, your talent if you have talent or what you've learned. But I'm very happy that she kind of did like change your tune, because like if you do have that, I think it's important to understand that you do have that. I always think of Jack Quaid when people bring up nepotism, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's an actor. He's the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, who are both, very big names. And he has always been like, oh yeah, I'm a Nepo baby. Like he straight up admits it and he says like, yeah, I did have a leg up and, I'm not going to say that I didn't because that's not true, I think that's how you should be accepting of it, of like, yeah, I know that's what I am and I can't deny it. That doesn't mean that you can't act if you want to, or you can't do music if you want to. But I think it is important to like be like, yeah, I did have a leg up pretty much. That's my little spiel.
And I wanted to ask, does this make her a Nepo baby? I don't know. A lot of people say people are very divided. It's either yes, she is, or no, she isn't. When I think of Nepo baby, it's usually I am following the footsteps of one of my parents or both of my parents in that industry. And her dad was not a music guy. He's a marketing guy.
That's very true.
Who just had connections. So I think it's more of a result of just being rich and well-connected rather than nepotism.
I wouldn't put the label of Nepo baby specifically. I think it's kind of interesting. It's like in this middle ground because our parents, like you said, weren't singers or anything. They didn't have like connections with like the top agency or whatever that represents singers or, the top coaches or whatever for like whatever. Or maybe they did, but
the interesting thing is though, he did have a connection with the record label founder.
So there you go.
It's kind of like, there's just this
so
interesting
area. Let me pull back what I said. And I guess let me say like, yeah, she like, I wouldn't say she is a Nepo baby in terms of, her parents are singers and are involved directly in the music industry. But I do think she is kind of in the space between where, yeah, she's not a Nepo baby, but she does still have connections that make it easier for her, which again, like, it's also not her fault. And I think the fact that she did like admit that, yes, she does have those connections, is a good thing.
Yeah, it doesn't take away from the fact, like, it doesn't take away from her music, I don't think.
Exactly.
It's just more of a reminder to anyone pursuing art to say, oh, look at her. She's so much more successful than I am, and she started the same year as I did. Well, yeah, she's also got so much more at her disposal. Of course, she's more successful. Like, it comes down to money, sadly.
As do most things in life, so.
Money makes the world go round. That's what ABBA taught us.
That's right.
So there were 3 singles from this album. Bags in May of 2019, Closer to You in June, and Sophia in July, 1 week before the album. And this album was well received by critics and considered to be among the best albums of 2019 by many publications. All songs on the album were written by Clairo and Rostam Batmanglij. I don't know if that's how you say his name. I apologize because he is a legend, formerly of Vampire Weekend and currently of being potentially the greatest indie music producer ever. He is one of my favorites, and whenever I see his name in the credits, I know I'm going to like the song, with a few exceptions, but that's for everybody.
That's really awesome. I had never heard of him before.
Almost all of the instruments on the album were played and recorded by just the 2 of them. There were a few notable other musicians on the album. Danielle Hyam of the band Hyam with her sisters did drums on 3 songs, and then Peter Cottontail played the remaining extra instruments on the album. The choir vocals on the album were done by the Adderley School Choir. It was mixed by Tom Elmhurst, Sean Everett, Manny Marroquin, Dave Fridman, and Rostam, and mastered by Emily Lazar. There is photography done on this album from the booklet, and some of it was shot by Nolan Feldposh. I don't know if that's how you say his name. He goes by the artist name Noli. I saw him live. He opened for Bank, not related to Banks, different artist. And he was incredible. And I had known one song by him. He only had like 3 out at the time. But I saw him live in 2019, and I was like, I'm going to follow this guy. And he has released some great music. There is a song called Think Back, which I have played many times while I was driving you in LA because it's in my main driving playlist. So you have heard this man's music without realizing it. And he did photography for this album, which is pretty cool.
I feel like if I hear it, I will suddenly just like get deja vu to being in your car.
And finally, before we get into the album, I have to tell you your favorite song and your least favorite song. I think your favorite will be Bags, and I think your least favorite will be Closer to You. These are both singles, interestingly enough. But with that, track number 1, Alewife, produced by Rostam and Clairo. I think this is a nice melancholy song about suicide that feels way bigger than it is. And this will be a theme throughout the album. He has such a knack for making small songs feel so large. The last thing I read about this song is it feels like New England to me, which makes sense. I mean, Alewife is a station in the MBTA. Shout out Boston, 3.5. What'd you think?
Well, first of all, I think this is a great start to the album, and it's very simple, but it's the type of simple that I like, where you don't want more. And I literally wrote, I don't know if it's impossible to call a song light, but this is light.
And it's about suicide too. It's like, it's so crazy, but it feels so nice.
Yeah, it's like so ethereal and almost calming in a way, which like, yeah, you would never expect from a song that is literally about suicide, but I don't know, it somehow works. It doesn't feel like it clashes with what the song is about at all. This is actually a 4 for me. I think this is a really good start to the album.
Nice. Okay, we're starting off hot here. I like this. And I wanted to ask you, because I didn't ask you to start. We're just kind of all over the place this episode. What did you think this would be like before you went in? I assume you had never heard Clairo before.
Well, no, I've actually listened to Clairo before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can't remember, honestly. Like, I don't remember the song names. I've heard some songs from her latest album that Jennifer sent me, and I always liked her music. So going into this, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a good time here. I am very interested in the future listening to her latest album, which I think came out like 2024, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, last summer of 2024.
Right. I am very interested in listening to that and comparing to this album. So we'll see.
Well, I can tell you that I've done that, and I think this album is better. That's my own personal opinion. I do think that she kind of peaked here, and I think she can get back to this, but she needs to. I mean, the album that came after Immunity was Sling, and it was produced by Jack Antonoff, and it was boring as hell, and every song sounded the same.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, that's when he was in his taking pop girls and ruining their careers era.
Jesus.
And then the most recent album, I think, was, I don't remember who exactly produced it, but I remember thinking, I really wish Rostam produced this because I feel like it would be a lot better. That's a conversation for the end of the album. Track number 2, Impossible, produced by Rostam and Peter Cottontail. Sorry, but this song does nothing for me and is easily the worst on the album. I get what it's trying to do, but it doesn't do it well, and it feels like a throwaway song that would be like track number 7 or 8 on the album, and you're at that point just kind of mentally checked out. This, I don't really enjoy. This is a 2.5. It's whatever.
This song is very interesting because it's quite different to Alewife in terms of its style. You know, you have the drums, you have the synth, which to me almost give it like a churchy vibe.
Definitely. Yeah, that feels like a theme throughout the album.
Yeah, no, for sure. Which I didn't really like think would be a theme when I first went into the album, but it's definitely there. But yeah, it really kind of felt like the opposite of Alewife to me, just in terms of style or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if like the drum that is in the song works that well with the song, because the quieter parts of the song were the parts that I thought worked really well, and those are the parts that I actually really liked. I think it's kind of a shame that the quieter parts makes up like the minority of the song, because I don't know, I felt like the rest of the song wasn't as strong. That being said, I still did like it. This is a 3.5 and I enjoy it. Again, we're having our little split here.
Speaking of the split, I think this is where we really diverge. I picked this to be your least favorite song. This is Closer to You, produced by Rostam. I wrote, we are so back. I love the autotune. I love the understated hip-hop style production. When people talk about the glory days of bedroom pop in the late 2010s, this is the exact type of music that I think of. And I feel like it's what other people are thinking of too. It seems like we left this behind too quickly because it only lasted for like 3 years when this was even like a thing that people were considering to make. And it just feels like you found like a few stock loops and you played a guitar and like a Yamaha keyboard over it and recorded on a $50 mic. And it's like, this is what bedroom pop is. It sounds like unpolished, but in a professional way. If anybody knows any artists that are still making music like this, please email us at upcpod@gmail.com because I want more of this. And I always have such a hard time finding stuff that sounds that's written like a pop song, I guess, that isn't just kind of like more R&B soul leaning like bedroom stuff. Anyway, this is a 4 for me. This is not my favorite song, but I thought it was for a second.
I put this song on and I was like, what the hell is this? And it didn't really work for me. And then I got to the chorus and I was like, oh, wait a second. So then I gave it a 3.5 and I moved on. And then later I came back and listened to it again, and that resulted in it being a 4. This is one of my favorite songs on the entire album.
No way.
Yes, it is. It works. And it's kind of crazy because I know there's like a lot of elements in it that theoretically should make it one of my least favorite songs on the album, especially like the vocal manipulation stuff. But
I couldn't have picked a better song for you to hate.
right? But it just works. I don't know.
That's
like,
crazy. I'm glad.
I'm also very happy, but I'm not even sure what it was that kind of grabbed me.
You're being converted.
I may be, yeah. I will say this theme of me listening to a song, giving it a score, then coming back later, re-listening to it and giving it a higher score was kind of a theme with this album because it happened twice. And that honestly makes me wonder what would happen if I keep revisiting this album in the future. Like, will my scores just continue to go up? So that remains to be seen. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, I actually really like the song. I enjoy it.
Very interesting. I thought immediately when I heard this, I was like, oh my God, I have a slam dunk here. This is the song that David doesn't like.
And that was my reaction in the beginning of listening to the song. You know, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this. And then it got me somehow. I don't know how. It just did.
Okay, then my new choice for your least favorite song is Feel Something. Track number 4, North, produced by Rostam Clairo and Peter Cottontail. Much like the previous song, this draws on like trip hop and hip hop influences that I haven't really heard her return to since this album. Honestly, this I think is where she's at her best with production that is kind of keeping up. I don't even know that I want to say that. Production that's doing something. Because I feel like that's kind of what I'm missing in a lot of her more recent releases. Much like the After EP that I talked about just moments ago, it feels very 2000s influenced, and I think it does stand out on the album because of that. It is a 3.5 because I do like Closer to You better, but I do think that this one has captured that similar vein, and this one is a candidate for it going up as I kind of return to it again. I haven't listened to this album since like 2019, honestly, except for like 2 songs that I saved. When it came out, I was kind of like, it's good, but it's not mind blowing like I wanted it to be, or like everyone was treating it.
Yeah, this again worked really, really well for me. In some ways, for lack of a better word, it feels like more of a traditional song. I guess traditional pop song. I don't know. That was just kind of the feeling I was getting from it. I don't know exactly what I'm even trying to say. You know, I think in some ways this does share a little bit of the lightness that Alewife has with some of like the percussion of Impossible. And I don't know, it just really works for me with this song. This is also a 4. I will say it is interesting. When it comes to Clairo, I feel like I kind of forget about her because I don't return to her music a lot. Because again, as I said before, I've listened to her music before, but I'm like, I need to start coming back and like listening to her more because I do like the music. It just, for some reason, I just forget to listen to her.
It is kind of weird. She exists in this space between indie and pop that kind of is bedroom pop, which is what this album is. And I kind of didn't really talk about that genre. It was originally created as this is what people are able to do in their bedrooms. And then everybody like got into a studio and was like, let's try to recreate this exact sound. And I know D. Forvid did that for a while. Shout out to him that we talked about a month ago.
That's before he tried murder. So
yeah, exactly. Bedroom pop as a concept is something that weirdly like kind of really came and went. Towards the end, it started getting more influences from weirdly hyper pop and kind of these more produced online, like very internet rooted genres. And that kind of like fizzled out and you either went the route of girl with guitar / boy with piano or online laptop music, essentially. Track number 5, Bags, produced by Rostam and Clairo. We used to make real indie music with a post-chorus melody, and you know what? We get both a guitar melody and a separate piano melody because music used to be melodic in the olden days. This is a bedroom pop / lo-fi indie classic. My only complaint on this song is that I wish it was structured a little bit more like a pop song with a third chorus instead of just 2 choruses, because I feel like I want that. I feel like the chorus is so strong that I want to hear it again. But this is my favorite. This is a 4.
Oh, I mean, I like this song. I think that it has a fantastic build to its chorus. That being said, with this song, it's not as strong to me because I feel like it kind of loses me in the second half, which maybe, goes to your point about there should be another chorus there at the end or, in the last third. But I mean, it still works very, very well. It's a 3.5 for me. And this is one of the songs that I could see going up.
I don't remember what episode it was, but I was editing one recently where you said, I feel like you're getting really good at guessing like what my favorite and least favorite song is. I would like to say that I am 0 for 2 on this one so far. So,
well, hey,
you're getting back some unpredictableness, and it's nice. Like it's a journey for both of us now, and I'm discovering what you think in real time.
Got to keep them on their toes.
Exactly.
You and the audience. I will say you pulled out some unpredictability last episode too with your movie score. So
that's true.
You're also keeping me on my toes,
and I probably will do the same this week. Hint, hint.
Oh, gosh.
Track number 6, Softly, produced by Rostam. This is more along the lines of what Spotify used to call and what I called earlier bedroom soul. It's got more of a modern soul and an R&B tinge to it that's filtered through this like bedroom pop kind of like style and ethos, I guess. And I think this is a fine song. There's nothing wrong with it. To me, it's kind of just like background music, but it's not bad. It's a 3. I enjoy it. It's just not like, it doesn't catch my eye or catch my ear like some of the other songs on the album.
I'm going to come out with my score right away. This is a 3.5. It's kind of, I feel like this album is very, very consistent in a good way. When I was writing my notes for the song, I realized it's kind of hard to describe Clairo's songs. It's like you kind of just have to go and listen to it to understand. So yeah, go listen to the song. That's all I have to say. It's a 3.5.
This is a very common thing that we've done with indie before, where it's like you just kind of run out of things to say.
And when I say there's not much to say, I mean about the song, like I do have more to say about other songs. But I do feel like there are some things, for instance, what I said where I just for some reason don't remember Clairo when I'm thinking, oh, what should I listen to? And I do feel like with me, that's kind of what happens with most indie pop. Like I just don't remember indie pop or indie rock as much as I do other genres. Even though I really like indie pop and, for instance, like Clairo, I like a lot of the artists.
Track number 7, Sophia, produced by Rostam. This is the big song from the album. It was also a TikTok trend sometime during the COVID era in a year I do not remember. To me, this song has always felt like a sonically less developed version of Bags, but the massive blown out guitar after the second chorus is like really cool. And I almost wish that there was kind of that like wall in Bags at some point. I do think this song is a standout on the album, but I will sadly always be comparing it to Bags because I feel like that song is just more memorable and is kind of like, I mean, I don't know if it's her best song, but it's up there. So this one is a 3.5. I do like it a lot and I see why it blew up, but I feel like Bags is just has that little like extra edge, and maybe it's because it's so melodic that it just captures me more.
So first thing I do want to say is this is the second song that I listened through once, gave a 3.5, and then came back, listened to it again, and gave it a 4. So this is one of my favorite songs on this album. I didn't choose a favorite, but I feel like this one is maybe the front runner. I could see this one becoming like my definitive favorite one if I come back and listen to, my top songs in this album. I don't know. I think it's a really pretty love song, which is interesting because it does have like kind of a a faster pace. The thing that's the most interesting to me is the production, because I kind of feel like it keeps on evolving throughout the album, which I really like. I feel like you don't hear that much in just music in general, where the production just keeps on evolving and changing throughout the whole song. And I did want to ask, do you know what the main backing instrument is? Because it's a very interesting sound.
I assume it's some form of guitar because I watched some like of Rostam's production breakdowns on the album, and he has a ton of guitars that he just like destroyed with like 15 different plugins that just like make it sound completely unrecognizable, and it's super cool. And it gives it that like earthy, like rooted in acoustic music sound that's like common in bedroom pop, but then you also screw it up, which is also common in bedroom pop. It's like, what can I do with this like limited amount of resources? So I think it's a guitar, to the long-winded version of or answer of your question.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a 4, again, probably my favorite song.
Nice. So 4 is your highest that you go.
Yeah, that is the highest. And not to spoil it, but 3 is the lowest. So it kind of was sticking in that.
Your indie range.
My indie range, to be honest. Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Track number 8, White Flag, produced by Rostam and Clairo. This run of songs is where the album becomes fine to me and the Kesha effect kind of sets in. This song like begins the run of songs that is the reason that I will rate it what I rate it, which I'll talk about at the end. I'm not going to spoil it yet. It's a nice vibe, but it doesn't really do more than that. It doesn't need to necessarily. It's just kind of like there. I feel similarly to Softly about this song, so I give them the same score, which is a 3.
Yeah, I agree that the latter part of this album does not work as well, and the Kesha effect definitely sets in.
We're getting some Maroon 5 effect there too, where it's like you get the strong first half and then it's like, eh.
Yeah, it's 100% like that, unfortunately. That being said, the first 2 songs in this section, White Flag and Feel Something, were actually stronger to me than the last 2. Like, they still kind of kept it at that 3.5, which, not to spoil what I thought, but they kept it there for me. And then finally kind of went to the 3. That being said, I do wonder if they would kind of do the opposite of some of the other songs and go down if I listen to them again. Especially because I feel like White Flag, it was in between a 3.5 and a 3.
Something interesting happened to me with track number 9, Feel Something. This one was a 3, and then I ended up making it a 3.5 to spoil it right away. It's produced by Rostam. This song to me is closer to you too. It's like it's in that same vein. It feels very similar, like sonically and I guess emotionally. It has like the trip hop influences, but Closer to You just has a little bit more oomph to it, for lack of a better word. Like, I feel like Feel Something is good, but it's not great. And Closer to You is. Therefore, this one's a 3.5. And that's kind of just like, it suffers from being on the end of this album, which, you know, track listing, we haven't really talked about a lot recently, but it is also kind of like, if this song was earlier, I still kind of think I'd give it a 3.5. But it is the highlight of the kind of like worse songs at the end.
This was actually a little bit closer to 4 than it was to like a 3. Like it was kind of in between there. So it was also stronger for me, even though I agree it's not as strong as, you know, the latter part of the album. I think ultimately with this song, there are like sections of the song that work really, really well for me, but as a whole, it doesn't work that well. And that's kind of what kept it back for me. But I mean, yeah, it's still closer to, or not closer, but it's like a 3.5 that's close to a 4. So there is that. This is the highlight of the second half.
Track number 10, Sinking, produced by Rostam and Clairo. Another soulful song that's nice, but not super memorable. This is a 3.
Yeah, this is, you know, another 3 for me. I did want to ask, would you call this like lo-fi or what is the style of the song?
I mean, to use Spotify's terminology, it's bedroom soul. I feel like it very much has that bedroom pop style to it, but it's got more soulful singing, and it's closer to R&B than it is to pop, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe that's why it didn't work that much for me, but ultimately the song just isn't very memorable. It's a 3. It's not bad. It's just kind of like, it's there.
Is this one your least favorite, or is it the last song?
Honestly, I didn't decide.
Okay, that's fair.
I have no idea.
The last song, track number 11, I Wouldn't Ask You, produced by Rostam, Clairo, Peter Cottontail, Burns Twins, and Haley Briasco. It's a decent two-part song that feels calm and relaxed, much like the previous song. I just don't have much to say about it. It's just kind of there. It's fine. It does, unfortunately, kind of make the album feel like it goes out with a whimper. And I get why it is the last song. I feel like it's meant to be the last song. I don't know. It just doesn't capture me like some of the other songs on the album. So this one is a 3.
I remember the first time I heard this, I was like, what the hell is going on? Because I didn't see the length of it and I didn't realize it was a double song. The first part, I was like, this doesn't really work for me that very much. And the second half did work a little bit more. Ultimately, though, it's too long. I do think that it does work in some way as the last song on the album, the way that he kind of said. But ultimately, it just doesn't really work that much for me. It's not bad, again. It's okay. Like, I'm not going to hate on it or anything. I would, if it was on the radio, I would still listen to it. I just would not have much fun listening to it. It's a 3. It's just very blah, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we kind of end the album on a sadder note than usual.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I feel like there's that last song or second to last song that always is like a standout on a lot of these albums. Even with Maroon 5, we had Beautiful Goodbyes, which to me was like, it's kind of interesting. Like there's something different going on there. And I just kind of feel like there wasn't really that. This really was like a kind of a tale of two halves.
Yeah. If anything, Feel Something came close, but even then it wasn't fully there.
True. Yeah, I agree. But I did want to say, overall for this album, the immediate reaction of it in 2019 was very positive, as I mentioned, and it felt like critics and audiences kind of thought of this as like the peak of bedroom pop, which looking back, it kind of does feel like that because there wasn't a lot. Like kind of by mid 2020, I really wasn't hearing a lot of bedroom pop.
Would you say that bedroom pop is kind of died down by this point?
Definitely. It's kind of like gone now. And it's sad because I feel like that's such a style with so many more interesting things to say than just girl with a guitar / boy with a piano, which is so popular right now. Like you have Benson Boone and you have, I'm sorry, but I'm going to throw Olivia Rodrigo in there as kind of these examples of artists who are obviously very talented. They just haven't found a style that's like super like them or unique. And I feel like bedroom pop kind of gives you that, like there's almost a level of experimenting in it that you're not allowed to do with whatever like era we're in right now, which I would kind of call modern singer-songwriter music. It just doesn't feel as good.
Well, I was going to ask, do you think it got kind of killed by people trying to over-engineer it in professional like sound booths or whatever?
Ironically, I think it was killed by COVID and the fact that we were all at home. And I feel like people, like it was already a kind of a movement online, and then people were so alone and they wanted some sort of connection, and doing it yourself wasn't really like a thing anymore. And these more connected scenes like hyperpop, like Plug, like any of the kind of online, I guess, hip hop scenes that are kind of like alternative hip hop scenes that are prioritize community and like sharing your music with other people and these massive collaborations with like 15 other people. Like that was more, that need for connection kind of like took center stage in my opinion and kind of killed off this like solo do-it-yourself kind of vibe that bedroom pop had going. And it's sad because I feel like there's so much that we haven't explored here. And one of the main instruments of bedroom pop is a guitar, because a lot of people know how to play guitar. I do not. I'm a pianist. And I feel like if I'm going to bring it back, like if I'm going to be one of those people, I need to learn a guitar and learn how to play guitar. So maybe I will, because I think there's so much left to explore yet. Like we have this foundation of modern pop music that is so good. Like we figured out how to make pop music in the 2010s. We figured out that access to technology is like the most important thing for getting artists up and running, and having a MacBook and having a $50 microphone, you can create like anything you want because it's all at your fingertips. And I feel like we've just kind of like the advancement of technology has just kind of like killed that. And it's like we didn't spend enough time there, and it's sad.
It kind of feels like what happened to rock with pop, like where pop took over.
It's sad to watch genres die out so fast. I mean, that's happened a lot, especially with like online scenes. We had vaporwave in the early 2010s, synthwave we talked about with the Midnight, that's really not like doing that much anymore. Although there is some more like renewed 80s nostalgia now. Obviously, we've talked at length about hyperpop, but we're also missing like these kind of commercial scenes too that really were so short-lived. Like late 2010s dance pop was its own thing from early 2010s. It had faster tempos. It had more of a focus on like organic instruments built into these synthesizers. That was kind of influenced by like this bedroom pop trend. And all of this is just dead now for kind of this bland Christian coded music that we get to listen to now, which also includes Taylor Swift. You know, like she's not doing anything sonically interesting or musically interesting anymore. And it's like she's one of the biggest artists ever, and she's just stale and refusing to innovate in any way. And it's just sad because that's kind of what it feels like culture is right now.
Right. It kind of honestly feels like, and people might get mad at me for saying this, but it kind of feels like Katy Perry, who is also like, will just not innovate. I think just the difference is that Taylor Swift has a big fan base and Katy Perry doesn't.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally correct. I mean, we look at Teenage Dream, which was such a huge era. It had 5 singles that were number ones, which was only done by Michael Jackson. Like, and she never really developed a fan base from it. Unlike Taylor Swift, who cultivates her fan base and is like incredible at it. That interrupts the mini paragraph that I wrote that said, so the immediate success of this, like it was acclaimed when it came out. And now we're going through this kind of weird period of revisionist history where it's like, actually, this album wasn't that good when it came out, and her newer albums are better, which is wrong, in my opinion. Especially, like, it's been weird to see as an outsider because her second album, Sling, which was executive produced by Jack Antonoff, did literally nothing for me. And I have listened to it once and forgot about it entirely. Like, I forgot she even released music in 2021 when we got to the end of the year. And I was like compiling my list of stuff. It's like, nothing happened. Like that album left no impact on me.
What was the consensus on that album from like the critics? Did they like it or no?
Better. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Everybody was still in on Jack Antonoff at that point, and I was not. He kind of lost me after Norman fucking Rockwell in 2019 with Lana Del Rey. I was kind of like, oh, this is cool. I fear for what is to come. And I was correct. Because after that, there really wasn't a lot that was pushing any sort of boundaries like he was with his kind of the albums that made him the name in pop music. Yeah, so watching that and then watching her newest album, Charm, which was 2024, as we talked about, kind of get this similar response. I don't even remember if I listened to it. I know I heard singles from it. I believe I listened to it because I don't know why I wouldn't have. And the fact that I can't remember it kind of shows that I didn't save any songs from Sling or Charm, and I did from this album when it came out, even though I was kind of like, I don't know. And for me, it's been kind of like I'm watching what has happened with a lot of other artists where it's like they go this more, in a weird way, commercial indie darling route where you try to get an 8+ from Pitchfork and have them prove and validate and get it whatever. I don't know how Anthony Fantano scores things. Fuck him, by the way. I hate him so much. Sorry. That's maybe the most angry I've ever gotten on the podcast.
I've never seen you angry in just life.
No, literally. Like I used to be in that scene on YouTube in the 2010s, and it's insufferable. The things that he makes his fans, I guess, spew out to other artists. Anyway, my big like rant is think for yourself, everyone. And if you disagree with me, good, because I don't want to just be giving you your opinions. Like you should be developing your own opinions. I'm just telling you mine because we have this platform, you know? And I know you feel the same way because we've talked about this before. Like we're not critics. We're just telling you what we like and dislike. Like I don't think of myself as saying any like true things, I guess, any objective things other than like some of this history and stuff that we do, you know, that all of that is to say, as respect for Clairo has grown, I feel like I've kind of fallen out of her target audience in a weird way, and not necessarily on purpose. It just feels boring and like she's done this before. Like she obviously is an innovator. She's made some great songs. I mean, I gave a few of these songs 4s on here because I like them. I actively listen to them. And I just feel like there's not that edge. There's not that like that something that pulls you in, that thread that you can grab onto in a lot of her newer music, at least for me. And it's been weird watching everybody kind of like retroactively shit on this album when I think it's easily her best work. All of that is to say, I gave this album a 2.5 when it first came out, and I thought it's wildly inconsistent. There's a lot of songs I didn't like on it the first time, but now that I listen to it again, I do appreciate it a lot more, and this is a 3. It's much more consistent than I initially thought it was, but there are a lot of songs on here that are just kind of like, it's good. And I have a feeling that as Clairo continues and goes on her career trajectory, whatever that may be, I'm going to kind of have that same sentiment of it's good. And I don't want to say like the other 2 albums were bad. I don't think they were. They were just kind of like, they were 2.5s. It's just kind of like, it's okay. It's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not doing anything different. And for me, if you have this voice and this gift of songwriting and obviously of melody that we've seen on here, it's like I just know you're capable of more. And I hope that her next album is her best album yet, because I will always root for her because I think she's incredibly talented. I don't know. That's my little rant, but this is a 3. What did you think?
I mean, I agree with so much that you said. I had some trouble scoring this album because going into it I was like, okay, there were like, it was kind of a mixed bag, but then I looked at it and I was like, actually it wasn't, because most of my songs were a 3.5 or above. That being said, the majority of the songs are still a 3.5, and even though I was like, wow, some of these songs I really like and I like Clairo, I want to give the album a 4. Ultimately, considering how many like 3.5 songs there are, which again is not a bad thing. 3.5 is a good score for me, and even like 3 is an okay score. But just like considering how many there were, I was like, I kind of have to give it a 3.5, even though I kind of want to give it more.
I get your struggle though.
Yeah, right. I feel like, and this has kind of been my struggle with a lot of the indie pop or indie rock that we listen to, but I don't know, it's harder to score some rock or some pop albums that we've listened to or some hip hop albums that we've listened to. I'm not sure that why that is.
I mean, I think that'll come with time too, as you're exposed to more indie music in general. Like
That's very true.
You know, we're still in the infancy of you like hearing a lot of this stuff, and as it goes on, you're going to discover what you like and what they do well that captures you. And I will say, 3.5 is higher than I thought you would go on this album. I thought it'd be a 3 for you as well. So I'm glad you like enjoy it.
Yeah. And you never know, like it could go up, it could go down, it could go sideways. Like I don't know. Because as I said before, this album, my scores were changing all over the friggin' place. So, you know, we'll see. I'll keep the audience updated in the future. So, and if you guys want to see our scores to see if they changed, you can always go look at them on Rate Your Music.
Exactly.
So check it out.
Before we get into the movie this week, I wanted to say one thing. How are these two related? They're not. When David explained this movie to me, I was like, I want to do some bedroom pop. I had a different album picked out. I looked back at like bedroom pop and I was like, you know what? We should do the Clairo album, because I thought you had not heard any of Clairo's music. And I remember thinking, I wish there was more to it. I mean, and I also thought of like the critical reception of this being like kind of the peak of when everybody loved bedroom pop and wanted it to be a thing. So I kind of wanted to do that with this. And I feel like kind of the soft, understated tone of it kind of fits tonally with the movie, because the movie is in a way soft and it's just kind of slow, and it just like lets you, like it flows through its scenes.
Yeah, it lets you just be in the world.
Exactly. You're living in the moment. This album didn't really rush anything, and it ended up working out quite well with the movie, I think. Like there's a way where you can see these worlds are intertwined, in my opinion.
I completely agree. And I also agree because I think it works on another level where you have a music genre and a film genre that, you know, when they were kind of at their height, were very, very big and influential, but then they very quickly kind of disappeared. That's not to say that they're fully gone, but they're not around as much as, you know, like they aren't as present as they were when they were at their peak. So I think it does, weirdly enough, work on that level too.
That's very true. But with that, let's move on to our movie this week.
The first thing I wanted to say is I am so sorry to any Italian listeners that we may have, because I will absolutely butcher every single name in this whole movie while I'm doing the credits and beyond. So I am very, very sorry if I do. But yes, we are talking about Bicycle Thieves, which has also been called The Bicycle Thief. The English title kind of changes here and there, but the most common is Bicycle Thieves. And this is an Italian neo-realist film, which I will talk about when I get to my notes. But we gotta start, as usual, with the IMDb logline. And I do want to hear what you think, so here goes. In post-war Italy, a working-class man's bicycle is stolen, endangering his efforts to find work. He and his son set out to find it.
That's perfect. No notes.
So let's get through the credits. And again, I am so sorry, even though we probably don't even have any Italians listening to the podcast, but still.
I will send this episode to my aunt who is Italian and speaks fluent Italian.
I'm sorry, Brandon's aunt. I'm so sorry. but here goes. The movie is directed by Vittorio De Sica. That's one name I knew I would get right, so I gotta add as much oomph to it because I'm gonna get the rest wrong. It's produced by Giuseppe Amato and Vittorio De Sica. Screenplay by, and get ready for this, Brandon, Oreste Biancoli, Suso D'Amico, Vittorio De Sica, Adolfo Franzi, Gerardo Guerrieri, Gerardo Gherardi, and Cesare Zavattini.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's 7 people. I would say that we're going to talk a lot about that in my notes, but we aren't. So it's based off a story by Cesare Zavattini, who, as you might remember, was one of the screenwriters too. Cinematography is done by Carlo Montuori, edited by Eraldo da Roma, music by Alessandro Cicognini. I'm sorry. It's distributed by Ente Nazionale Industrie Cinematografiche. It's the best I can do, guys.
Very nice.
Thank you. And, of course, it stars Lamberto Maggiorani, Enzo Staiola, and Lanella Carel. Now, before I did go into my notes, I did want to say this is an older film. It's also a foreign film, and because of that, there honestly weren't that many things I could find when it comes to, background on the film. I got as much as I could from IMDb and various other sources, but there aren't that many notes for this week. But let's start with the director, Vittorio De Sica. Now, he is known as one of the biggest leaders of the Italian neo-realism movement, which I do have to ask, do you know what this movement was? Did they talk about it at all in film school?
I have never heard about this.
The Italian neo-realism was a film movement. I mean, I guess it is. I feel like it's still present maybe here and there. But again, as we kind of discussed before, it's definitely not present very much, and certainly not the way it was when it was at its peak. But it was a movement that was born after World War II. And of course, Italy was, going through difficult times after war. Pretty much the movement was centered around portraying the struggles of the working class. That was kind of a lot of the content that, the directors in the movement were interested in portraying. And the way that they shot a lot of their films were on location and often with non-actors in leading roles. And this movement blew up in, late 40s, early 50s, kind of around the same time when the French New Wave was blowing up. And it was very, very influential. And this film is one of the best examples of that. And Vittorio De Sica is kind of one of the leading, directors of this movement. De Sica had just come off the critical success of his last film, Shoeshine, which actually won a Special Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Feature. At this time, they didn't have a specific category for it, so it was a special award. But in spite of the fact that that movie was a critical success, he still had trouble finding funding for his next project, which was Bicycle Thieves, which I know doesn't seem that it makes sense, but that's just the film industry for you. I mean, Martin Scorsese, who is one of the most legendary filmmakers, still has trouble finding money for his movies. So that tells you what the industry's like. He eventually had to resort to raising money from friends to actually fund the film. And he wanted to portray the poverty and unemployment of post-war Italy, kind of, again, keeping in step with, the Italian neorealism movement and what most films in that genre, were about. He co-wrote the script with Cesare Zavattini and the other writers that I listed. And that's kind of all I could find about that. So there we go. The title and some of the plot devices are borrowed from a little-known book of the same name by Luigi Bartolini. It seems like most of the film, however, is original to mainly Vittorio De Sica and Cesare Zavattini with, help and input from the other writers.
I did want to ask you, what was the original Italian title? Like, can you say it? And then also, what does it like literally translate to in English?
Yeah, so the original title in Italian is Ladri di Biciclette, which I believe translates directly to bicycle thieves.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
This is one of those foreign language film titles that seems to just have been translated to the same title in English, which...
Yeah, not like Another Round, which was something like completely different.
Yeah, and not like a lot of foreign films, weirdly enough. Both Another Round and In the Mood for Love had different titles in their respective original languages. This one was a one-to-one, which maybe, hey, like, it's because this was a 1940s or 1950s film. Maybe that's why it was, and, changing the name is a newer thing. But when it came to casting, De Sica decided to use non-actors. And he actually found his lead actor, Lamberto Maggiorani, when Maggiorani brought in his son to audition for the role of Bruno. His son didn't get the role, but De Sica was impressed by Maggiorani himself and offered him the role. Maggiorani was a factory worker. Now, De Sica had trouble casting the role of Bruno. And they actually started filming without the role being cast. But one day during filming, and I have a quote from De Sica, quote, "I was telling Maggiorani something when I turned around in annoyance at the onlookers who were crowding around me and saw an odd-looking child with a round face, a big funny nose, and wonderful lively eyes. Saint Gerano had sent him to me, I thought. It was proof of the fact that everything was turning out right," end quote. That boy was, of course, Enzo Staiola, who would go on to play Bruno. As I said before, a lot of Italian neorealism films shot on location, and this is true of Bicycle Thieves too. De Sica actually would run 6 cameras at the same time in order to catch every angle of the untrained actors in order to get their spontaneous performances in case they did something that was just perfect. And there was actually a lot of rehearsal with crowd scenes, which you might not think would happen considering that they're just shooting out in the open, but De Sica did hire a lot of people to kind of fill out crowds and stuff like that, and he would meticulously plan those scenes and rehearse them to look 100% natural. Now, when it came to the performances, you are dealing with non-actors, and Maggiorani was very, very shy on set, and he was also very anxious that he couldn't do what De Sica wanted him to do because this was the first time he had ever acted in his life. That being said, De Sica knew that if he kind of coddled him, it would kind of get in the way of the performance. He knew that he could use Maggiorani's real anxiety in front of the camera. He could use it to kind of let it work as the character's anxiety. So that's kind of what he did. And he would later praise Maggiorani. He said, quote, "The way he moved, the way he sat down, his gestures with his hands hardened from work, the hands of a working man, not of an actor," end quote. He was kind of praising the fact that he was the everyman that the role needed instead of being an actor that, might not have been able to portray what was just real life to Maggiorani. And it seems like Maggiorani did kind of become more comfortable with the role and even started to slowly merge with the character even if he did remain uncomfortable with some of the mechanics of acting. And I have one last quote. A lot of my notes are quotes because that's what I could find. And this is De Sica talking about Maggiorani. He, quote, confessed to me that he had experienced this sensation acutely and poignantly in the last scene of the film. Antonio, in a moment of revolt against his cruel fate, attempts robbery and is arrested and maltreated in front of his son. When through his tears, Lamberto Maggiorani felt his hand seized by little Staiola, it seemed to him that it really was his son who took his hand, and his tears became real tears of burning shame. In a few months of patient effort, I had brought this man to the point of being able to forget himself in his role and to enter fully into the sad story, end quote. Which I thought was really, really interesting. And that's the end of my note. So let's continue on to the release. The movie came out December 13th, 1949, and was a box office success, grossing $428,000 because its budget was only $133,000. Obviously, back then, that was a lot more money than it is now.
Gotta love the old money calculations. Box office smash at 300,000 or whatever.
Exactly. What do you think? Do you think it got positive or negative reviews?
I'm gonna go positive.
Italians did not like it.
Oh, interesting. Why?
They were like, it portrays Italians in a negative way, which I don't understand at all, but that's what they said.
I can see that in a way where it's like, oh, we're all unemployed and we're all begging for the government to help us. In a prideful sense, I get it, but it's also like, yeah, this is like what life was like at the time, you know?
That's what it actually is
yeah,
like.
Post-war Europe was like bad for
Devastated.
everyone, pretty much.
It was really, really bad. Even though a lot of Italians didn't like it, at the time it came out, outside of Italy, it right away received praise, and many kind of noted it for its honest portrayal of the struggles of the working man. And just like De Sica's last film, it won the Special Foreign Language Film Award at the 22nd Academy Awards, and it was also nominated for Best Writing. So, it was lauded right away.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that they had like a foreign language film category way back then too for the Oscars.
Well, and the weird thing is back then it was a special award. So it seems like, they kind of waited to see if there was a film that quote unquote deserved it,
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then they would just give it to that one film and wouldn't nominate anything else. It was kind of this weird like half category that I think later got fully established to where you actually got other films like nominated. But yeah, it's weird because it's like, the best animated feature category has only been around for like 25 years. But then the best foreign language has been around close to the beginning, which is really interesting. It's not what I feel like I would have expected, to be honest. So there is that. And there's also the fact that Bicycle Thieves, its stature has only grown with time. And it is now considered to be one of the greatest films ever made, and also the best example of the Italian neorealism style. And kind of going back to what we were just talking about, it did kind of help to cement the best language foreign film category at the Academy Awards. It kind of helped to give it some more weight than it had before, I guess you could say, as well as helping De Sica's stature as a filmmaker, especially as an influential filmmaker. During the filming of Bicycle Thieves, De Sica told the non-actors that were starring in the film to abandon acting. And it seems like he did not want them to go out into the world and try to recreate the success of Bicycle Thieves, only to not achieve the same level of success, become burnt out, become, for lack of a better word, has-beens, and become regretful of, Bicycle Thieves, or of the fact that, their careers didn't, stay at that same level due to how difficult being an actor is. And it seems like Enzo Staiola followed this advice. He did work on a couple more films, but eventually he became a math teacher and retired from acting. And he actually passed away in June of this year at the age of 85. May he rest in peace. Sadly, it seems like Lamberto Maggiorani did not follow De Sica's advice, which I will say, you never know. You can maybe he would have found that success. But it seems like for him, he didn't. And he sadly struggled to find large parts or the acclaim that he achieved with Bicycle Thieves. And he would die in Rome in 1983. So kind of a sadder note there at the end. But hey, if that was his dream, at least he followed it. I did want to ask you, and you kind of answered this before. Going into the film, did you know anything about Italian realism? Which you said no, but now that you know about it, does that maybe give you more context for the film itself?
In a way, yes. I kind of, when I was watching this, got the read that it was almost like a socialist film where it's like kind of showing you the dangers of what like capitalism is and like what it does to people. But I don't think that's really what Italian neorealism is, like what its messages are supposed to be.
The focus is less of, like what is society or like what society has led to where these people are in, and more just like, these people are struggling. Like I feel like its scope is not that big. At the same time, because its subject matter is on the working class and their struggles, it's kind of impossible not to like extrapolate that out to, this is a critique on capitalism. Like it kind of goes hand in hand, even if that's not what they were going for, I feel like.
The intentions are so hard because it's like, we're in this war and now we're going to kind of live the dream of rebuilding the country and we're going to forget all of these bad things that have happened. But like, there's also this underlying idea of like, we're watching capitalism take root again. We're watching kind of the country struggle with a flawed way of life. It does feel very much like a critique. Like halfway through, I didn't think like, this is like a socialist propaganda film. Like I was just kind of thinking like, there's definitely like the realist element to it where, I didn't know what it was called. I didn't have the word for it or the descriptors that you've provided, but like, you can see it. You can definitely feel there's something there.
Yeah, which is probably why this is the best example of the genre. Or of the style. Well, that does honestly lead me perfectly to my next question, which, do you think this movie speaks well to our generation and kind of what we're going through nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, obviously. I feel like...
yeah, it's kind of hard for it not to.
Right, it's the eternal struggle of you're poor and you're going to stay poor because we hate you. It's the modus operandi of the United States government to say, we hate you, and to shit on its citizens, So I feel like this is extremely prescient to where we are as a country, as a society, as a world as well, but then also as humans, like dealing with each other, and we're all struggling. Like, the people who aren't struggling are ironically the Clairos of the world.
Exactly. The Nepo baby, no kidding. But it's very interesting watching it in the context of 2025 when it kind of feels like that downward cycle has been exasperated and blown to its, like fullest expanse or whatever you want to call it.
We're speed running the downfall of like society.
Yes, exactly. Because I watched this film several years ago for the first time, and there was definitely like a little bit of that, but I feel like it's kind of become even more prescient today.
Yeah, especially with having Trump as president again. I mean, like Biden didn't solve anything really, but you had the last remnants of the Obama era hope where it's like,
yeah,
I'm going to make things better. And there were these small wins that you could point to every now and then. And now it's just like, everything actually is terrible all the time.
Yeah, I did not plan this at all in terms of like, this movie would speak to us or like in terms of what we're going through. But it just kind of perfectly came together, I feel like, because it does kind of just, in my opinion, perfectly relate to a lot of what's going on. Not in terms of like, it's like billionaires taking over, like not one-to-one, but in terms of like our generation and like middle class and poor people are struggling more and more, in terms of that.
I don't remember who said it, but there's an adage that's history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. Which is kind of like, that's where we're at. We have a lot of the same struggles.
It's an endless circle.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I did want to bring up the acting because I feel like you got non-actors, you kind of have to talk about it. So I did want to hear what your thoughts were. And also, did kind of want to ask, did you, like, could you have guessed that they were not professional actors at all?
I could not have guessed. I thought the kid kind of like overacted a little bit, but I was like, this is a kid. Like, of course he's going to. I didn't think like he's not an actor. That's why he's doing this. No, like I thought the acting was good. That was definitely like it kind of had to be that way to carry the film because I think it is such a small scale story that you need something more to latch onto. And I think especially the dad was very good.
His performance has always stood out to me. I think the kid is great. Again, like, he's a kid. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to get a perfect performance from a kid just because, like, they're still growing, they're, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I've always been blown away by the performance of Maggiorani because, like, knowing that he was not a professional actor. And that's kind of why I wanted to include that quote about him, like, coming one to one with his character, kind of because, first of all, I think that this is the type of film where casting non-actors can really work because I'm sure that he was experiencing the pain of his character in his own life, which is sure to help and sure to translate. And on top of that, I think that with this film, you kind of see what a good director does in terms of an actor's performance, where he's able to like get them to give a performance of this caliber, with them not being non-professional actors.
You saying that makes me think, what if this was Ridley Scott?
Yeah. I'll just go act. I'm focusing on the camera.
Exactly.
Say your lines, yeah. Yeah, it would not have been the same for sure. And I think it speaks to the Sica's skill, of working with actors. And I say that as someone that's only seen this one film of his. Like, this is all you need to see to know that he's good at working with actors and that he's a really good director. Like, that's all I kind of need, to be honest. I don't honestly have any other questions, just because, like, I feel like this movie is very straightforward. So I guess now I'm going to throw the ball to you. And I mean, what other thoughts do you have in general?
I don't have many thoughts because I didn't really know what to think after this was done. Mostly what I thought was this feels like a socialist film and it feels like something where I agree with the message and I appreciate what they did, but I didn't really connect with it in any way. And I feel like that's been a common theme for a lot of, I guess, leftist works that I've read, watched, listened to, experienced in any way, where I like what they're doing and I think it's important, but it doesn't have that emotional thread that I feel like I need for it to be successful. So I struggled with my rating for this and I ended up changing it like 10 minutes ago as you were talking because I had to look up what I rated some other films and I was like,
that's like me with Clairo.
Exactly, yeah. It's so in that regard we
Yeah.
successfully paired them again, but this was really hard for me to rate because on one hand I was like I scrolled up a few times on Prime Video and was like, where are we in the movie? Like, what have I supposed to, like, what was I supposed to experience at this point? The rating part is hard because I'll explain that more when we get to it. But I want to hear your other final thoughts, I guess.
I mean, I don't have much to add also. And that's kind of going back to, the fact that this film is very straightforward. And ironically, like the Clairo album, I feel like you kind of just have to go and experience it. It's kind of hard to talk about it. That being said, I mean, I've always found this film to be very effective. It has always like touched me. It's definitely not touched me as strong as some other films that maybe follow like similar themes. That being said, I feel like now, as someone that's kind of entered the professional job market post college, I feel like it hits even more than it used to, and it already hit quite a bit, when I first watched it. Which, for reference, I think the first time I watched it, I was like 18, and I was like, damn, this is kind of depressing. And now I'm like, oh, this is like near to my life. Doesn't that just make it more depressing? It's a very simple film, but I also don't feel like I need anything more. I think in a way, I think it's perfect because, at least for me, it's so effective while doing so little. This is a 4.5 for me. It's not a 5 because I feel like I said before, there are some films that just hit harder. That being said, I think it is still a very like devastating film to watch for me, especially with that like very bleak ending, which we didn't really discuss. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. I think for me, I can see why this is considered one of the best films ever made, and it's definitely up there, even if it's not with my favorite films at 5 stars.
Yeah, I have just a complicated relationship to films like this because I agree with everything you said. Like, I don't want anything more from it. Like, I think it is perfect in what it's doing. I just feel like this is not something that I connected with, though. We talked last week with Jennifer about rating systems and like how much you have to factor in how much you like something because like ultimately that is a major that like that's kind of the whole point in my opinion. I think technically this is great. I don't see any problems with it. And yet I feel like this is a 2.5 because I don't think I'm ever going to watch this again and I don't really have any desire to. Like I feel like it's good and I'm glad I watched it and I'm glad I experienced it once, but I had to look up In the Mood for Love because that was the film that I had a similar experience to where I was like a lot of people love this and it just didn't connect with me for some reason. I know how ironic it is to say that that is something that has happened with 2 foreign language films that we've talked about, but I would also like to say that I mean, I gave a 2.5 to The Terminator, gave a 2.5 to Halloween.
It's not just foreign films, guys.
Right, it isn't. And I feel like those all kind of have that same thing where it's like it's enjoyable in a way to watch, but it just doesn't have that thing that like made me want to come back, I guess, in a way. Halloween's kind of the outsider there because there was something where it's like it's a holiday film, so it's a little bit different, you know?
Yeah, and I totally understand that. As someone that had a similar experience with Terminator, I completely understand. Even though like all like the other films you listed, like those did work for me, but that's also just personal preference, and what will work for someone will not work for someone else, which is the beauty of life.
Exactly. Yeah. Do I think people should watch this movie? Absolutely. It's very interesting and it's not at all what I was expecting.
Well, I'm happy that I surprised you.
Yeah, you told me about it and I like enough so I could pair something with it and I still feel like there's a lot of like subtle nuances that you get from watching the film and it's just so slow but not in a like old movie slow kind of way. It's just because the story is so small that it's just like you're living through it.
It feels
It's like real time almost.
I was literally about to say that. It really does feel like real time. And there are sections where the characters are kind of like just standing and like trying to figure out what to do or where to go and stuff like that, which also just feels very like true to life and real time. It's kind of crazy. I think we did pair these very well because they are also just both hard to talk about.
Yeah.
And in a way, I feel like we're just not doing either justice.
Even though I'm looking at the time of the episode and it's like we've talked about them for a long time.
Regardless, like you kind of just have to go and experience them.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess that's our message today, guys.
That's kind of our message every week. Like that's the message of the podcast is
That's
like
true.
experience things, like watch, listen, because ultimately, like what's the point of life? What's the meaning of life? I mean, I would say a big aspect of it is living other people's lives through the things that they create. To give you a little bit of existential philosophy there.
It goes twice as hard for Megalopolis and 143.
It's always those two, the scene of every crime. But with
it's
that,
always those two.
I think that takes us to the end of our episode. It's been a wild ride. This is our first. No, this isn't. This is our second post-Halloween episode. I got to get my timing right. Now, like I'm experiencing Halloween in real time and it's like it's a complex dance that we're doing.
And that's all because we can't be dancing in real life all together.
That's what the world really needs is for everyone to come together and sing and dance and forget our problems. And in case you forgot more than just your problems and you forgot what we scored everything on this episode, Rate Your Music, Letterboxd, all in our link tree in the description of this episode on our Instagram. And in case you have any questions about that, or you wanted to email me, Bedroom Pop Artists, you can email us. Where, David?
At upcpod@gmail.com. And if any of you guys are kind of just sitting there wondering like, damn, I wish I could like know what they're talking about because I haven't seen the movie or listened to the music, well, then I think you should head over to our Instagram because we announce what next week's episode is going to be. You can find out what literally our next episode is.
Thank you all for listening. Please leave us a review, a rating on Spotify, anything that you think will help the show, because if you think it will help the show, I can guarantee you it will.
Absolutely.
Any support is amazing. So we thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this pretty much regular episode of Uncultured Pop Culture. Nothing too crazy here.
Probably the most regular.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
See ya.